Shreveport, Louisiana has a long history of black photographers who documented the lives of their community. Allow me to take you down the historic and creative corridors of Melvin L. White and Isaac Sutton, two brilliant photographers from Shreveport, Louisiana, who dedicated countless hours of their earthly existence into capturing life's most precious moments, camera shy, in search of M.L. White and Isaac Sutton.
Back in the late 50s is when I first met him, and he was a friend of my brother's. They went out together, traveled together, did things together. He was outgoing, very friendly, always telling a lot of jokes. I think maybe his business had sort of slowed down in Shreveport. He did have a studio here back in the late 50s. I think it was on Normal Street.
The Norma Street studio was located in Shreveport's historic Black Allendale neighborhood.
I think when he got out of service, he stopped in New York City for a few years, a number of years. Then he decided to go back, and he lived in New York for a long time. He had a studio there, and he organized a quartet, and he did a fashion show where he had quite a few talent shows. Well, it was a small studio on 110th Street and Lenox Avenue in New York City, and he worked only by appointments, and he would always come back to Shreveport in October to attend the fair. He was a good friend of Mamie Love. She was a well-known beautician here, and when they had conventions, when he lived in New York, he would travel to another state, maybe Ohio or somewhere, to do the pictures for the beauticians convention.
White eventually returns to Shreveport in the 1980s to be near his family.
Pete Harris was a popular restaurant where a lot of people would gather on the weekends, and he would always be there. He was very well known for people who hang around Pete Harris.
Actually did my wedding photos. He always walked around with his big camera in front of him, you know, when he was at different places. He would come home so much, and he stayed at the Chateau at that time, the Chateau Hotel downtown, until they had a picture of him on the Wall of Fame. Melvin was proud of his business and what he could provide for blacks. He would love to be recognized. He was that type of person.
Although he lived a more high-profile life, less is known about the photographer Isaac Sutton's connection to Shreveport. He was born here in 1923. What we do know is found within the pages of Jet and Ebony magazines. Shreveport's own Isaac Sutton was the longtime chief photographer of the Johnson Publishing Company's West Coast Bureau. He was fortunate enough to photograph many famous actors and musicians during his 42 wonderful years with the Johnson Publishing Company. Phenomenal entertainers such as Aretha Franklin, Michael Jackson, Marvin Gaye, Eartha Kitt, and Richard Pryor were just a few names among the long list of his clientele, friends, and associates. Isaac Sutton was not just a photographer, he was also an outstanding ventriloquist. Sutton's dummy was named Sammy III for his close friend Sammy Davis Jr. Before he decided to make a career in photography and entertainment, he was a deputy sheriff for the Houston Police Department. An Ebony article states, back in March 1953, a young Texan had a big decision to make. A freelance photographer who had shot pictures for Ebony and Jet magazine, Isaac Sutton, was offered a full-time position with the Johnson Publishing Company.
The Chicago Defender ranks as one of the leaders of the Negro press. Its huge plant also prints 5 others in the widespread Defender newspaper group, which means constant activity in the composing room. The growth of Johnson Publications of Chicago in 11 years of operation has been most impressive. Its products, Ebony, Jet, and Hue, are newsstand favorites.
He had a great reputation for making people he photographed feel very comfortable and reassured by his unique approach to taking pictures. In fact, Sutton's 58th birthday party was thrown by Richard Pryor. An article in Ebony describing the event says, "The Pryor estate was jammed with celebrities. Host Pryor and boxing champ Ken Norton helped Sutton blow out the candles on his cake. Mr. and Mrs. Marvin Gaye admired a watch given to Ike by Red Fox. Beautiful girls like Minnie Riperton, Judy Pace, and Bernadette Stannis kissed him a happy birthday. Aretha Franklin couldn't make the party, but she baked a cake and sent it over by limousine." In 1975, Sutton left the Chicago headquarters of the Johnson Publishing Company to take his position as chief photographer of the Los Angeles branch. During his tenure in Los Angeles, he forged a remarkable legacy in photography and entertainment that can't be imitated or duplicated.
Many of us just don't know. And when you bring these things out, that's how we learn so much too of Black history that happened, especially back in the day before our time, you know. So it's a way of learning and to be informed. I think we need more of it.
There is still so much more to learn about the lives and work of Melvin L. White and Isaac Sutton. We are especially interested to know more about their connections to Shreveport, Louisiana. If you have any information about them or have any photographs that you would be willing to share, please contact Raegan C. Stearns at Raegan@cloudandclay.com.